Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode 53. And wow, I'm super excited today. We have Richard Crossman, all the way in Canada, a voice actor. I mean, I've been excited. I booked him, and he's on. Let me just show you and share my screen and show you a little bit about this gentleman here. I'm gonna from his website. I'm gonna show you a clip of. All right, there's Richard. Let me see if this plays, and it will bring in our guest.
Hello! I'm Richard Crossman, a professional voice actor, and I have a lot of voices in my head. Professor Crossman is one of the most articulate lecturers I have ever worked with. Monsieur Richard is an amazing pastry chef. Richard can get down and dirty with all of us villains. You've got your bratwurst, your liverwurst, but Richard, he's the best.
I love being a fly on the wall when Richard records. He's the bee's knees.
Sitting around the campfire listening to Richard tell a story is my favorite way to end the day. Laird Richard is the greatest hunter of the fantastical haggis beast to ever come out of Scotland. Ho ho ho! Richard Crossman is North Pole approved. If you want to build an audio brand or add a twist to your telephone answering system, videos, e-learning, medical narration, documentary, and more, contact me, richardcrossman.com.
All right, there is our guest. Doesn't bring him in all the way in Canada. 3, 2, 1. All right, how are you, Richard? You are on the show. Can you hear me?
I gotcha.
Awesome. All right, how are you this morning or afternoon?
It's just past lunchtime here, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I'm doing well. It's been a busy morning so far, but it's going well.
Amazing. It's morning here in Phoenix. It's 10 a.m. and glad you're here. If you guys are a fan of Zoom Party, he always is the voice at the end when I do the finals. You'll hear his voice there. So I appreciate you being that voice and helping me out in Zoom Party. You're awesome.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, let me go ahead and those. Let's talk about first of all that video there. Those are some interesting voices there, and any of those when you listen to it and watch it, give you some good memories. There was a couple of nice, interesting characters there.
Every one of those is an interesting character for me because of either the situation that they came out of, the show that I was doing when I used it, or the frame of mind I was in when I recorded the voice. So it's interesting.
Got you. Awesome. All right. That's amazing. One thing is like the French chef and then also the Scottish guy reminds me of Scrooge McDuck. And so that's something that is amazing. So, okay. Are you ready to get to know you?
Sure.
All right.
Fire away.
All right. With that, we have somebody already waiting here. Linda, I think she's also in Canada. Linda, thank you for joining us. It's going to be an exciting show here. All right. The first one here, let me move to this next one. Okay. So it was more about where you're from, and Richard here, he's a voice actor. This is the profile from LinkedIn. And just amazing how you come up with this kind of career, let's go to the first question here. And okay, I always like to start with very fun and different questions, and then we get into who you really are. And with that, if you don't mind each answer doing it in a different voice, if I'll leave it up to you if you prefer. But your preferred dessert of choice, what would you like to eat as a sweet?
As a pastry chef, I have created so many desserts over the years, but my absolute favorite is raspberry chocolate mousse.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And yes, here is Linda. She is in Canada celebrating Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving now this weekend.
It is Canadian Thanksgiving this week, yes.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And then well, so when I first met you and I saw you, I actually saw you on Melissa Houston show. I'm not sure when that was. And so she's here.
Yes, she
Invited
is.
her. She's happy to be there in the audience. So
Hi,
amazing to be here.
Melissa.
Hi there. Do you remember that episode? It was a Saturday, I think, in the morning.
Yes, it was. It
Morning
was early
show.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, and so I watched you there, and so I remember even I think coming up asking a question or something.
Hmm.
But that was amazing. You remember that. So thank you, Melissa, for joining us. We also have Lisa here. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. Okay, if I had a free day to myself, how would I spend it? And then the next question is going to be more about your acting. All right, give us another voice.
Well, I have a great number of hobbies, but pretty much all of my hobbies have at one time or another created income for me. So it's very difficult to say that they're still a hobby. I do costume design, I do pastry chef work, of course, I do cooking, and I still love to get into the kitchen to cook, but I wouldn't spend the whole day doing it. What I would be more likely to do is to be reading or listening to audiobooks or reading books which are of a fantasy or supernatural nature.
Oh, amazing! So you would be reading, basically, cooking a little bit, and then do some reading as well.
Or perhaps listening to an audiobook while I'm cooking.
Oh, okay. What would you cook? Like, what's your preferred? Are you more of a Canadian meals, French meals?
I was trained in a classical French kitchen,
Uh huh.
so I'm able to cook pretty much anything from all around the world, although I haven't cooked it all, obviously. But I love international foods. I love Japanese, I love Indonesian, I love Thai, I love Asian, I love Indian, I love German and French and Italian, and it can go on and on. I had the wonderful privilege a few weeks ago of popping into a Persian restaurant and having a couple of dishes that I'd never had before, and they were fantastic.
Oh yeah, Persian is amazing. I'm kind of like you. I've never tried Indonesian though. That was unique. What was something unique about Indonesian food that they've had that you can tell us about?
Indonesian food was my first trying of Indonesian food, and one of the very first dishes I had was curried goat.
Oh, okay. How did
And I
that
know
taste?
that happens all over the world, but Indonesian was where I had it first, and I love curried goat. And in fact, I was out at a farmer's market last weekend where they had a Jamaican patty stand, and they had curried goat patties, so I had to have one of those for lunch.
Amazing. Yeah, that was in Canada, right? It wasn't in
Yes.
Indonesia or anything. Okay, perfect. And you're in Toronto area right now, so that's amazing. There's a lot of cultural people there. I was
Mhm.
there in 2019 visiting some family and friends, and there's a lot of diversity there, right? I think densely populated with a lot of people there. It depends the area, but it's pretty good. How long have you been in Canada or Toronto?
I've lived all my life in Canada. I was born here. I have never actually lived in Toronto except for the 2 years I was at university and cooking school. However, I've lived within an hour and a half of Toronto pretty much my entire life. And currently, I'm in a rural area where we have a lot of migrant workers come in from South America, Central America, the Caribbean islands, and so on. So we have a vast diversity of foods here, and I love it. I go out for different types of foods all the time.
Amazing, amazing. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the program. Is there any particular food you haven't tried you would love to try?
Mm. Uh, there are a couple of Japanese dishes and there are a couple of Korean dishes whose names I can't pronounce at the moment that I would love to try. And there's also a couple of dishes that I've I've seen prepared on YouTube from South America, Argentina, and Brazil that I would love to try, and I'm going looking for some of those over the next while.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, this one. Let's elaborate a little bit about your upbringing and all that in Canada. Try to do it in a Scottish, if you can, voice.
Well, Scottish is no problem whatsoever because I had a grandfather who was Scottish, and that's where I got the accent from. It's actually an authentic one, not a put on one. I was born in a small town called Caledonia, which was actually named after a city, a town in Scotland named by the same name, which has a great deal of Scottish heritage. I went to public school and elementary and secondary school there. I got my first job there, flipping burgers in a burger joint, and was very much attending church every Sunday morning because my grandmother on my mother's side lived 4 doors down from me, and she was a church organist and choir director. So I went to church with her and with my family. I began singing very early. My grandmother started teaching me piano at the age of 3. She taught me reading starting at the age of 3 from National Geographic. None of this see Jane, see Dick stuff. It was National Geographic of all things.
Oh, yeah.
And I grew up there until I finished high school and then went off to Toronto to university for music first.
Oh.
And then decided I didn't want to do that type of music for a career. So I switched over to cooking, which I'd always loved, and ended up doing cooking and pastry work for nearly 30 years before I retired out of it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So it looks like you had a good upbringing, but that was good times, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had to read. And I remember my grandfather as well. He read the National Geographic, the Times magazines, and all these. I'm from East Europe. And so, back then, after post-World War II kind of thing, they grew up. But then we had that upbringing too. Like my grandfather would say, what would you like to buy? And then if we bought a toy, he would get upset. If we bought a book, he would be happy and he would read with us, kind of thing. So I like that. Unfortunately, the kids now are into phones, right? Are into the electronics. It's kind of different, But hopefully we can get them into there and encourage them to start reading more. So awesome. That's awesome upbringing. Okay, here's Jay. Greetings, young Jedi Knights. All right. Maybe you're a Jedi Knight. Are you a Star Wars fan?
I actually did not include the photograph in my character introduction, but I do actually have a Jedi costume after Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Amazing. I actually a few years ago I bought a lightsaber and I use it once in a while, and then so it changes colors, red, or so you can be a Sith Lord or you can be a Jedi Knight, all in the same scene if needed. So
I have a single lightsaber and I also have a double.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. All right, let's go on to the next one. Thank you, Jay, for joining us. I've seen you around. Awesome. All right. Okay. Next question here. Okay, please share the place you have visited most and liked the most. Which place? Is there another accent that you can do for us? But before you do that, your accent reminds me of Mrs. Doubtfire. Let's talk about that a bit. So that's amazing. Robin Williams, I saw a video you were on one show the other day to get to know you better. You mentioned Robin Williams and the many voices he was throwing around. That's amazing. Let's talk about that for a bit.
Well, because of my training in music and my training as an actor, I picked up a lot of languages, and of course, working in a French classical kitchen, we have picked up the French, we've picked up the German, we've picked up the Italian, and I sang 30 years on the opera stage, so I also have all of that from my opera training as well. So my French, my German, my Italian are all authentic accents because of the singings that I do.
Oh wow!
But as far as the place where I've been that I really like the most, I spent 2 weeks in England and the UK in 2012, and again in 2016. I got to visit a lot of places twice. but I also spent some time visiting other places just once, including Stonehenge and Bath and those things. And then the second week we went north to Scotland, and I spent a week in Scotland out of Edinburgh during the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and the military tattoo there, and that was absolutely incredible. I would love to go back there again, but there's also other places around the world that I'd like to go.
Oh, amazing, amazing. We can talk about that more. Americo, welcome to the program. He does a lot of good shows and has a lot of followers. It depends. I mean, I see his shows on Wednesdays sometimes, different times. Give it your days. I was on his show. We did a show, I believe it was on a Thursday afternoon, 7 Eastern. And so, very amazing guy. I would love to bring him on my show there. And so, that also makes me think about, so how did singing make you get into the different languages for the German accent and the French accent? How did that evolve with you in the beginning?
Well, with classical singing, you're singing in Italian, German, French, sometimes Spanish, sometimes Russian. So I had to learn to be able to at least pronounce the words correctly using the proper accents and syntax. And from that, it just sort of expanded. And then with the French, of course, I had the cooking training and also my years in secondary school and so on. But also in music, many of the terms, not all, but many of the terms are in Italian. So I had to learn Italian for the music part of my training as well.
Interesting, amazing. Like, give us an example of one of the ones in Italian.
In Italian, for instance, if you want to have a very strong sound, a very large sound, you say fortissimo.
Oh,
And if you want a less loud but still firm, you say forte. And if you want very, very soft, you say pianissimo.
oh, awesome. So, did you ever grow up speaking another language, or it was you something that you learned all of these?
Unfortunately, in the small town I was in, English was the language. There was almost no other ethnicity than English Caucasian in that small town. There were only 1,250 people. The only non-white Caucasian English-speaking people that were in town were the two families that owned Chinese restaurants, and they both spoke English as we would. So there wasn't even an accent for me to pick up on. But because music and language come from the same part of the brain, according to most scientific studies, musicians find it easier to pick up languages, and people who have an affinity for language find it easier to pick up music too, at least according to the studies. And in my case, that's the truth. So
That's amazing.
I didn't speak another language. I learned French in high school. I started speaking French in high school because I worked in a French kitchen. I began to become fluent and conversational. I'm not so much conversational now because I haven't used it for about 30 years. I understand what I read when I read it, and I can respond to questions if they're not fired at me too quickly, fairly cogently, but I'm not what I would call fluent in any other language than English.
Got you. So you're able to pick up from the music, and you're able to get the accent pretty accurate. How accurate would you say it is? Within pretty about 80%, 90%?
I have been told that my accent is better in Italian than some Italians.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's awesome. Awesome. All right, that's good. I'm not sure if you've done an Italian accent yet for us, but maybe this one. Were there any individuals or experiences that inspired you during your childhood or youth? Anybody inspired you to become into voice acting, or somebody from TV or from movies? Maybe in an Italian accent. I don't think we heard that.
Well, the Italian is not one I use a whole lot, and I need to gear into that because it's down on the list of things. I need to use a couple of key phrases, and it tends to morph in and out. So I'll leave that one alone for now.
Okay.
And it also tends to become somewhat of a caricature if I'm not really careful. So I don't want to get into that.
Sure.
We're not doing cartoon characters today.
Okay.
I can honestly say, from as early as I can remember, Santa Claus was an inspiration to me. And my very first onstage performance at the age of 3 was a recitation of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," the poem by Clement Moore.
Okay.
And that got me started. And then my grandmother, my mother's mother, who taught me piano and who got me singing because she was a musician, And then there was a gentleman that I met through another musician by the name of George Shippey, who was a high school music teacher, not at my school, but at another high school. But he also ran a community choir and a light opera society. And he was a huge inspiration to me in music. um, Back when I was a kid in the 60s, we only had 4 television or maybe 5 television channels. So there wasn't a whole lot of inspiration there. And a lot of what I watched I watched the kid shows in the morning for sure and cartoons on the weekend. And I suppose if there was any inspiration from that period in terms of acting, it would have been all of the voices on the Looney Tunes characters, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, all of those that Mel Blanc did. I still marvel at how Mel Blanc was able to do all those various voices and accents and characters. And there are a few voice actors today who voice audiobooks that are absolute inspirations. And I suppose in some ways, acting idols to me, like Stephen Fry and Jim Dale and Zara Ram are 3 of them. They've all done multi volumes of books. Jim Dale and Stephen Fry, the Harry Potter books, and Zara Ram, the Time Police and the Chronicles of St. Mary's. And there's got to be about 17 or 18 books in that series. And all of the voices that they can bring back and keep coming back, and they're accurate all the time. So even without them saying this is who's speaking, who's speaking.
That's amazing.
I aspire to that, but I haven't got to that point yet. I've got a few voices I can do, but I certainly don't have 185 like Jim Dale had to create for Harry Potter.
That's amazing. Yeah, and then Mel Brooks was such a character, right? He was able to do all those characters. And then the other guy, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Disney, like Darkwing Duck, or also who was that character too? He was good at doing all these Disney characters.
Well, there were a number of them that have done Disney characters over the years, but because I'm not into animation and cartoons and that sort of thing, I don't know a lot of the people who have done the voicing for those.
Yeah.
There were the people from The Simpsons that have done that for decades. Couldn't tell you who they were. I know the voices, but I couldn't tell you who the actual actor was behind the scenes doing it. I do a lot more in terms of e-learning and corporate training, medical narration, nonfiction audiobooks, that kind of thing. So I don't get to do a lot of voices and do a lot of voice training or video games and that kind of stuff. So,
got you. Yeah. That's amazing. And then also, the guy I'm thinking of is Jim Cummings. He's the guy who did that. You've probably seen it, but amazing because all those back in the 90s, there's all these Disney shows which I was watching, and Goof Troops, all these. He did pretty much the voices for all of them. And then he was amazing at changing the voices for Darkwing Duck or Tailspin Baloo or all these. So people who are watching maybe can get some memories from that. But those are actually fun shows to watch. I don't watch cartoons now, but back then it was just they're so unique, I'm not sure, but then DuckTales, also Looney Tunes as well. All of those, the Porky Pig. Are you a good Porky Pig translator or audio?
No, I don't do those. I don't do those voices at all. I have in the work that I do, I have no need to develop those voices, so I haven't put any time and effort into it.
Got you.
I deal more with accents and dialects because of the audiobooks and because of the corporate training and stuff that I do.
Oh, amazing. So on one of your websites here, I see that you're wearing some kind of a turban, which is fascinating. And I was just want to pull this up here. And so this one right here, okay, there you go. Okay. Was this were you playing like a sultan or something or an Ottoman Turk?
That actually, there's a bit of a story behind that one. That was actually an outfit that was custom designed and built for me by an Indian, East Indian fashion person here in Toronto for his son's wedding. He and I had become friends over a number of years, and I was invited to his son's wedding, and he said, well, you have to wear something that's appropriate. So he had this outfit created for me,
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I forgot to mention the Indian too. That's a Indian
Yeah.
or a Sultan, but that's amazing. So you wore it for that night, right?
Yes, and I've worn it for a couple of other special occasions, but it was specifically for that night.
Oh,
What you're seeing there is a picture from the Canadian Alliance of Film and Television Costume Arts and Design Awards, which is one of the Canadian costume design or um, costume design associations for film and television, of which I was the treasurer for a number of years. I also build costumes for film and television, and the teal blue outfit that the young lady with me is wearing, she was my escort for the evening. A dear friend of mine who does a lot of cosplay with me. I created that outfit for her,
that's,
specifically for that event.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that intrigued me right there with that look. It's amazing that what you can do and with the acting and stuff. Okay, let me go back here. Just a couple more questions here, but I might have extended it more. Normally, this show is 30 minutes, but you're a special guy. And so when it's 30 minutes, we always go overtime. There's a guy named Stanley Green who's on LinkedIn, and he's been on the show. He always has this catchphrase: "We're going to overtime." So he's a great guy. So I think we're going to be going into overtime. You're one of those special guests there. Okay.
And
Uh,
I'm going to take just a moment and say hello, Americo. About 10 minutes before I logged in, he contacted me on LinkedIn, and we're now connected.
Oh, okay, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, hopefully you can be on his show as well. I was on his show, and I'll bring him on too. America's a fabulous guy, and yeah, he's amazing. So definitely bring our friend Richard to your show, and yeah, so amazing that he's there. I think he connected with you when we found out you're on there. So there's a group
Yeah.
that we have on there. Okay, what inspired you to pursue a career in acting, or more specifically, voice acting?
Oh, goodness. Well, as I suggested, Mel Blanc was always sort of an inspiration to me with all of those characters, but I never gave any thought to actually becoming a voice actor. I didn't even know what that was back in the 60s
Uh huh.
when I was growing up. I'm ancient, by the way.
Well,
So,
by the way, so you weren't really into animation, but you listened to Mel Brooks. But
oh, yeah.
now you're not into animation, right? But you were his inspiration of his listening to Porky Pig and Bugs Bunny that made you inspire to be intrigued with that, right?
It always intrigued me. And when I got into my 30s, I guess, early 30s, I started looking at voice acting because of animation and cartoons and all of that. And I had no idea all of the other things that were going on in voice acting at that point. Um, I've always been a bit of a ham, and I love getting up in front of people and performing. So acting was just sort of an extension of that. And I had been a performing musician. I'd done vocal concerts and stuff for years. And I had the opportunity to play characters in high school plays and in other things. So I just sort of got into acting, and it just went from there. And then it wasn't until the early 2000s when I started really paying attention to voice acting and thinking that would be something I would consider doing. And at that point, audiobooks were becoming more popular. And I realized that there were other things like commercials that were voice actors and so on. I thought that might be something to look at. And it took me a while to find my way in because back before COVID, everybody had to go into the studio and you had to train in a studio and you had to have your demo done in a studio and all of that stuff. And it was a travel of an hour and a half to Toronto each time I wanted to do something.
Oh wow.
So it was sort of out of my reach at that point. And then in 2018, I happened to be at a small local Comic-Con type convention where I was presenting a seminar on cosplay on a budget.
Ah, okay.
And I ran into a fellow who had been doing voiceover work in animation for quite some time. And he had a miniature studio with him that day. And he was having the kids come in, and he had a video machine with a cartoon up there and some script on the cartoon. And the kids were reading the script, and he was recording them as the voice of the cartoon character. And then he would record it and send it home to them by email on the Monday or Tuesday afterwards.
Yeah.
But he and I got talking in between webinars and stuff when he wasn't that busy. And I went into his studio at the end of the day before he cleaned up. And he said, come on in, and started giving me direction. And he turned out to be not only a voice actor, but a voice director.
Oh,
And he had his own studio. So I trained with him for about 6 months in voice acting before I got going, and then started training with a couple of other people, and built my studio in 2020, just before COVID shut everything down, and got my studio built and made connections. And I started actually doing voice acting. And one of my very first jobs was recording a nonfiction audiobook.
oh, amazing. What year was that?
That was 2020.
2020. Oh, wow. So during that COVID time, so about
Yep.
5 years ago. Oh, that's amazing. And then ever since then, I'm sure it grew, and then people knew for you. But that's amazing. That's awesome. It's
Yeah, the business has been growing slowly. And in fact, this week, the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 of my audiobooks be publicly published on Audible. One was a nonfiction. Well, one was a sort of fictionalized version entitled "Called to Create," and the other one is a nonfiction called "Allism: A Philosophy of Living." And those 2 have just come out on Audible this week, or in the
awesome.
last 10 days or so.
That's amazing. All right, let's continue here. All right, a character or role you enjoy playing the most. Earlier, I showed them a video. I think I'm thinking Santa, right? That would be it. But
Well,
what
Santa definitely, because I'm actually in my 40th season as a professional Santa Claus this year.
Amazing.
So,
That's interesting. There was a coworker of mine, actually, when she was walking in one of the stores, and then she saw a guy who was actually has a beard as a Santa, and he had a business card. He said, "I'm a professional Santa," so he gave this to them, to that. So that's amazing. So yeah, let's elaborate about that. And then, do you give cards to people as a Santa?
I do give cards. I send them to a website. I have a website specifically for my Santa Claus. It's santadundas.ca, dundas.ca. And that will take you to my website, where there are all sorts of photographs of me in various outfits, in various situations. There's a page there that shows some of the Santa costumes I've created for myself and for others. Every costume I wear, I make myself. So my mother taught me to sew when I was very young, and being in theater, I got seconded to wardrobe quite often. And then in the late 1990s, I got seconded to an outdoor festival to help them with costumes. And from there, I went into not full-time, but went into building costumes and so on for film and television, for theater and circus. And for a few years, I actually owned a shop. We didn't rent, we did specific building for all kinds, hundreds of television and film productions, circus productions, theater productions, big blockbuster things like Suicide Squad, the Stratford Festival, Cirque du Soleil, Shaw Festival here in Canada, all sorts of things, television shows up the wazoo. But anyway, that's the Santa Claus and the costume thing.
Do
As
you
far as
mind putting in, Richard, the website for that so I can share it while you're
yep, I can do that.
in the chat box there, and I can just put it and share it on the screen.
There, it's in the chat now.
Perfect.
And then as far as characters, I often get called to play Albus Dumbledore from the Harry Potter series at wizarding festivals, both indoor and outdoor. So that's one of my favorite characters to play. Another one I get to play a lot is King Richard I of England. I get to play that at medieval fairs and so on. I've played Henry VIII at Renaissance fairs. I love doing him. So there's all those things that I love to do. And
that's amazing.
Every character I have played has given me something to take away, but has also become a little tiny part of me. And even the vampire hitman murderer was a lot of fun to play.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think Richard would have been fun. Richard the Eighth, as you said.
Henry VIII. Yes, that's a lot of fun. Yes.
Henry, yeah, that would have been fun. I'm pretty sure. Was that like a play when you did that? Or?
It was outdoor Renaissance fairs.
Oh, got you. Okay, amazing. And this is the website here.
That's the Santa Claus website. Yep.
Okay. So people can just go in here and click the one they want, and then sign up with what they want, right? Oh, you can do a Snapchat. I'm sure that happened in. Oh, this is your gallery. There you go. Is that you right there?
That is
Okay,
all me.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, there's the Mrs. Claus, right?
I've had the opportunity to perform in a couple of music videos with well-known singers here in Canada,
Amazing.
including Priyanka, the first first winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Canada.
Uh huh.
I got to perform in a music video with her. That was a lot of fun. But yes, these ones are all me. And then if you go to St. Nick's Tailored Togs, there are suits that I've made for other Santas as well.
Gotcha. I was gonna just comment here. I love the blue and the green here. It's a different style. You don't see that too often.
No,
Where
I
does
have
that come
I,
from? Mhm.
the Santa Claus that we have in North America
Yeah.
is basically Coca-Cola's marketing campaign.
Right. Correct.
In 1931, Coca-Cola wanted a Santa Claus to promote their product, and Coca-Cola's colors are red and white.
Yes.
So using a Dutch artist, they created Santa Claus, and now North American Santa is red and white. But before that, Santa was in all different colors. He wore robes, he wore trousers, he wore all sorts of different things. And that's what I portray in the Santa Clauses and the Father Christmas, Died Moroz from Russia,
Uh-huh.
Papa Noel from France, La
Mhm.
Befana from Italy, all over the place. And then Father Yule is the green one. And somebody sent me a picture 2 years ago of a Santa Claus. It was kind of a Pixar-looking picture
Oh,
of Santa Claus in the woods with small animals,
oh,
but he was
interesting.
in purple. So I said, I've got to have a purple suit. So I did. I went out and made one.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, there are a lot of Santas from different cultures and stuff like that.
Mhm,
Like you said, from European culture, from even the Middle Eastern culture, they have a name for that, and
mhm.
even in the Balkans, it's called Grandpa Frost if you translate the name, right?
Yes, Grandfather
So
Frost. Yep.
exactly, yeah, that's how they do it. Which is the word grandfather is deda in Yugoslavian language, and so
Yep.
they use that. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, interesting.
Well, the blue and white one that you showed there was
Bring it
actually a
up.
copy of Died Moroz from Russia, Grandfather Frost.
Okay, so that was on your page here. Let
That'll
me
be on my page, the snapshot page.
okay, let me oh this
Yeah,
one.
there it
Okay,
is. Yeah,
got you. So that's Russian, you said?
that's Died Moroz. It's Russian.
I got you. I got you. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that, and this is the purple one. Wow,
Yep.
that's amazing. That's
And
awesome.
that purple one went over really well. Last year, I ended up doing a couple of days appearance in a candy shop, so families could come in and take their own Christmas pictures. And the purple suit went over really well in the candy shop.
Oh, amazing, amazing. All right. I want to bring this back and put the questions back up here. And then I want to say hello to Leslie. Yes, Leslie, welcome to the program. Yes, this week it's actually at 1 p.m. Eastern. We had a special guest I wanted to accommodate. Normally the show is an hour before, and I'm glad you're over here. And we are live, Leslie. Yes, we are. Leslie's a good supporter. She does the show on Mondays at 10, Fridays at 10, all about power thinking, grow rich. She's been doing it for years now, and always a supporter. Every show I come, she probably comments on. I have to actually go back and see every show she's done from the beginning. You're number 53, and you'll always be number 53, Richard. You're the 53rd guest, and when I get to 100 guests, maybe we'll do something special. We'll see what happens. But I number them. I've always had a new guest. I do different things here and there, bring them back. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's continue here because the time is running out. Okay, where can an individual begin if they were interested in pursuing a career in voice acting or an actor? Where would you start? Where would let's say somebody comes in and says, "I watched Richard. I saw all these videos he does. I've seen Mel Blanks, and I've seen all these people. Where would I start? Where would somebody? Should they go to a school or what?
There are all kinds of places you can start. Some post-secondary education college universities have voice acting as part of their acting program. But you don't necessarily have to have an acting degree to be a voice actor. A lot of it depends on what you're going to be doing.
Mhm.
One of the things I would highly recommend is some acting training of some sort or improv training or both. As far as trying to find your way in, you can look at a number of organizations. There's World Voices is one, the World Voices organization, WOVO, WOVO. There's also Gravy for the Brain, which is what I call VoiceOver University Online. It's huge. They have massive libraries of webinars and tutorials and all sorts of things to get you started. And then if you are a member of Gravy for the Brain, there are live opportunities every month for you to jump into a webinar and get live training. You can actually read for coaches or for casting directors. Gravy for the Brain is another one. It's the one I was talking about. WOVO is one, and GVAA, and then let me just do a quick pull up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll read that. I'll look at the audience here. Leslie would put in a
Global Voice Academy. That's what it was.
Global Voice Academy. Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name, the
That's okay.
acronym, but the Global Voice Academy is another one that's a good quality one. And then once you get in and get involved, you can study with individual voice coaches, and there are hundreds of them out there, depending on what sort of voice acting you want to do. Do you want to do animation? Then you study with certain people. If you want to do video games, you study with certain people. If you want to do medical training, you study with certain people. If you want to do audiobooks, you study with certain people to get you started. And then from there, you can branch out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Look at what Leslie's saying. Richard encouraged me or her. She's done 2 audiobooks. That's amazing there. And do you know Leslie? Have you met with her? And Okay, awesome. That's amazing. So, all right, there we go. Let me go on to the next one here. We're almost done. Let me go back. Okay. Are there any upcoming plans or any projects that you're currently involved in that you can talk about?
I am currently recording an all cast or a full cast book for Spotify, which is a collection of ghost stories, short stories related to ghosts and so on. I'm in the process of recording that. It will likely be out, I'm guessing, probably early in the new year. I've auditioned for a number of other projects, which I can't talk about yet. One is a book 20 hours long. It's nonfiction. Another one is a series of 4 books that is going to be over 100 hours. Again, nonfiction. And I've got, of course, Santa Claus season is coming up like crazy. Yeah. And in, what's today, the 12th, so 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I have been invited as the feature artist to a fashion event here in Ontario called the Wearable Art Show, which is high-end fashion and fashion accessories. And I've been asked to come in as the featured artist for my costume work over the last 30 years. And we're going to have a display there of about 25 or 30 of my pieces of work that I have put together over the past 30 years that I have kept. Obviously, a lot of the stuff I've made I haven't been able to keep because they were for clients, but there are a lot of things I have kept, or at least kept a copy of, so that I can show them off. But that's the big thing that's coming up, other than the Christmas season and whatever audiobooks come in that I've auditioned for.
That's amazing. And look, she's saying she worked with you before, and these are excellent steps. And then she's saying that you are a hard worker. Very hard work. Richard, when does the season start? So you're saying at the end of, for the Santa, end of October to around like the 25th exactly, or a little bit after? When are you doing that?
It depends. Sometimes it starts as early October because photography studios want to get the Christmas family portraits out.
Yeah.
So we spend hours in a photography studio with the Christmas sets and so on. As far as the actual visits go, usually mid-November is the beginning. I don't do shopping centers and malls and things like that. I do a lot of corporate events. I do a lot of community events. I do a lot of family visits and home visits.
Got you.
So middle of November, and the middle of November this year is for those 2 weekends, the third and the fourth weekend, are big artisan craft shows, and they've asked me to come in as Santa Claus. One is for one day, And then the second one is for 3 days, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I will be portraying Santa Claus for the entire time the show is open so people can come in and take photographs.
Do
And
you?
then for the rest of the time, I've actually been out Christmas Eve. I've been out Christmas Day. I've been out as late as January the 6th because that's Ukrainian Christmas.
That's what I was gonna say. The Orthodox, some of them
Yeah.
have it on that day in January. I mean,
Yeah. So
East
I've been
Europeans, the
out.
Russians, they have it there. So you also work in January as well. So you get an extension of the season, right?
Yeah, I do. It's not a lot. I generally get 2 or 3
Yeah.
visits after December the 25th, but the season stays open for me until after the Ukrainian Christmas, the Orthodox Christmas.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. That's what that was on my mind, but you went over that. Awesome. Okay, we have like one more question remaining here, and another one we kind of went over. But this, I asked this one to everybody as a humanitarian. If I were to create a product or concept to benefit humanity, what would it be? What would Richard want to create? Something that hasn't been created. 52 people ahead of you all said different, unique answers. Making glasses that beam laughter or make people laugh and forget about anger, stuff like that. What would you want something to create that would be a lasting legacy for you?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to mind, of course, because of the benefit to humanity is my Santa Claus persona. What I would like to create is an imitation ice sculpture of some sort, even if it's just ice crystals.
Yeah.
That could radiate tolerance and love.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a lamp of some sort. Not sure how it would be powered, but that's the immediate thing that comes to mind is some sort of a thing that looks like an ice crystal or a bunch of ice crystals gathered together with a light in the middle that can spread that light and that empathy and that tolerance to the world.
That's amazing. I've never heard that before from any of the guests, but I like it. We read something. You just have to believe and imagine, it'll happen. So just think about that. That's awesome, Richard. The last one, we kind of went over this question, but tell us about you. What's something else we haven't heard about, Richard, that the audience wants to know, who can hear this now or in the future? Something unique about you. You're a voice actor. You do many events. You do many accents. I think over 20 maybe. You do audio voices, medical. You play Santa. So we learned a lot about you. What is something else that we want to know about you? Who is the real Richard?
Well, now that's a tough question. In addition to all of the things that I've done, I spent 20 years, almost 25 years as a classroom teacher in culinary arts. 20 years in secondary, 5 years in post-secondary as an itinerant professor. Teaching culinary arts, primarily baking and pastry arts. And during that time, one of my hobbies was fine cabinet making. I used to make the cases for clocks, bookcases, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So you're an educator, you're a voice actor, and then you also create, you said wood projects like clocks and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like
Everything I have done in my entire life, well, 99% of everything I've done, has been creative in some way where I use my hands or my body.
That's amazing. So when you said that, I first of all think of Pinocchio, the movie from the 1940s, I believe it's 40s. And so with the clocks, with all of those in that room with, I think Geppetto, his name. But yeah, that's what comes up to my mind.
I never got into the cuckoo clocks and that sort of thing. I made a lot of wall clocks. I made a few cabinet clocks. I did a couple where I built pillars at the corners and had pieces of glass or plexi slide in. But yeah, I was constantly building things. I made a bookcase once to fit a landing that went from the second floor to the first floor to the second floor of my townhouse that was 6.5 feet wide by 14 feet tall. And I put a series of bookcases in there and then put a ladder in like you see in the big libraries in castles.
Yeah,
just exactly. Because I wanted one. And I had to make the ladder myself too, because there wasn't one I could use. So I had to make the ladder too.
Yeah, did you make it out of wood or out of metal?
Oh, yes. Yep. I burned out two drills working that thing because it was made out of birch.
And how many steps did you have on it? Do you remember?
Well, there were eight or nine rungs on the ladder because it went up 14 feet.
Got you. That's amazing. Well, Richard, I had a blast with you today. We are coming into the end here. Next week, we're going to have a guy from Africa, Moses. He's a humanitarian. He travels around the world and awesome guy. Any last minute words for our guest today? I appreciate you being on the program. Before I end and with the closing credits.
The only thing I would say, and again, going back to my Santa Claus persona, do what you can to help others.
Amazing. I like that. Nice and short and sweet. Do what you can to help others. Amazing. We need to all do that. And with the last note here from Leslie, you're a treasure chest, Richard. He definitely is. And hopefully we'll hear more of his voice when I'm doing the recording for Zoom Party here. Maybe I'll utilize you more because he's an awesome guy. Amazing. And connect with him. The website's at the bottom right there. And then on LinkedIn, just look up Richard Crossman. PM me if you can find him. But that's a website, voiceactingmagic.com. And then the other one, which I showed you, is with the Santa one. When you guys watch the replay, you'll see it. But it's basically Santa Dundas.co. CA. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I say that? Okay,
yes,
perfect. Awesome. Stick around in the back room there, and we will talk to you in a few seconds. Here, I'm playing the out.
Thanks, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.